So it's essentially, it's part of a Dutch grant, and it's phase one, which is a feasibility study. And that's broken up into two components.
99 FM, your inspiration station. NSG with Petite. And before that, Ina Kamoze with the Hot Stop. It's a Friday, and we're bringing that Friday vibes right here on your inspiration station. Right now, though, it is time for MYD Earth, and Polycare Namibia continues to provide dynamic construction material solutions that offer superior durability, speed, and value compared to other building construction traditional methods. And the company's mission is to drive empowerment and a circular economy while changing the face of the construction industry. And they are currently working on yet another exciting project at KAYEC, a Namibian non-profit vocational training center in Katutura. So today on MYD Earth, we are joined by the architect behind this project, Mr. Dieter Brandt, a Namibian-born leading creative consultant and experienced architect. And he specializes in special sciences and tradition design, creating places that are a provocation for green futures. And he is joining us to tell us more about this exciting project. First of all, Dieter, good morning and welcome to 99 FM.
Good morning, thank you.
It is a pleasure to have you here in the studio. Let's first, of course, get into that first question. What is the project essentially about?
So it's essentially, it's part of a Dutch grant, and it's phase one, which is a feasibility study. And that's broken up into two components. The first component is to test new material waste streams from local sources. And the second part is to test an adaptive architecture. And that adaptive architecture is essentially about being able to assemble, reassemble, and that we build from the same materials two different architectural typologies.
In the local context, Dieter, what is the local context in pertaining to Namibia, of course, and how does this relate to the country?
I think the first part is to say, well, we live in a hyper-arid region, and water is scarce. We also have some of our own issues with natural resources within the construction industry, like access to good building sand. I believe contractors are driving out to Okahania to pick up building sand. And in this instance, we're able to recycle used sand. That's the first thing, and then emit water from the construction process. And there is another dimension to that the adhesive that's used for this polyblock system is actually from recycled plastics. So, what we're trying to do is mitigate the pollutants in the environment and manage our natural resources.
You are the architect in charge of the project. Can you tell us a bit more about the design as well?
Yeah, sure. So really in this attempt to prove an adaptive architecture, we try to do two things. The first thing is to say, well, can we assemble and disassemble? And then can we reassemble using the same building blocks? And really the first part of this structure, which is at KAYEC, it's a temporary structure. It's up for 3 months. It's really part of a pilot project. The bigger picture is to prove that we can decarbonize within the construction industry. It's also a test tower that's testing the new building waste streams that we're using, the properties of that. And it's a sample structure that's demonstrating this building system over multiple stories. And the reason for that is to say within a low-lying development area, can we start to think more about compact housing? Windhoek's got a problem with urban sprawl, it's degrading our environment, and can we start going vertical? And so it's not only about the commentary on our local built environment, but it's also about can we actually go vertical with this building technology? And we can. What we've just proven is that we can go, well, this is really the highest structure for the Polycare technology in the country.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And in terms of the products that's going to be used for the project, brief us on the production process. How does that work?
Well, it's been interesting because we were testing new waste streams, and this particular recipe comes out of South Africa. We were looking at foundry waste streams, and we looked at some mining waste streams. The mining waste streams initially had some problems because it was quite organic. And the foundry waste streams has really given us this opportunity to deliver a new type of block, which is really quite stark black in color. That burnt foundry sand that we're recycling is really giving us a black color. So we, in fact, we had in this sample structure that we built, we've got two types of blocks. We've got a block which is coming out of the South African recipe, the foundry sands, which is black, and we have a brown material block which is coming out of recycled sands from the mines in Namibia. And in fact, what we did with this is we combined the building blocks where we used the main building block, the T60, for using the Namibian sand, and then the South African sands came out of the foundry. And what that did is that we've really developed a type of algorithm that is generated through the actual structure, and that in a way reflects a type of material archaeology in the sample structure that you can see.
Yeah. This sounds like a really exciting project, Dieter. You also mentioned it's still in the beginning stages, it's still the first stage of it. But what else is in the cards? What else is in the pipeline? Where to from here, ultimately?
Well, specifically for this project, would be next stage, which is phase 2. And phase 2, we'd like to align more to specific stakeholders and users. I'm not sure if you know, but when we take the sample structure down and we ship that to Johannesburg, that will become a new pavilion, an agri-training pavilion as part of the Centre of Ecological Intelligence at the University of Johannesburg. That's at the Bunting Road campus. And that transformation is rather part of a bigger picture of also transition design. But what that really does is it does a couple of things. We try to prove that we can also decarbonize asset portfolios. So who are those types of users that are looking at this type of case study? It would be, for instance, universities that have got large campus planning and development. It could be mines that have infrastructure. It could be the cities that need to procure greener building stock, and in that process to decarbonize their portfolio. So really what we'd like to do is have a clearer stakeholder review and try and align the uses, and then generate this type of adaptive architecture that could, for instance, out of 6 cases of blocks, you could build 2 different typologies, like a primary school or a school for learning, as well as a primary healthcare center.
That's beautiful. Any last words you would like to impart on our listeners, Dieter, before we say goodbye?
No, it's been absolutely great to be here. I've just come from site.
Everything is looking okay. Everything is looking promising.
Absolutely, wonderful. We had school children running through the structure, and it was quite exciting to be here. Before
I let you go, I'm going to ask you a very random question right now, because I've always found architects very interesting. If you could be anything else, if you weren't an architect right now, what other job would you do if you weren't an architect right now? Well, if there was something else you wanted to do, what would that be?
I spent the last 4 years sort of moving away from architecture and getting closer to the intersection between architecture and ecology. So I think our mandate, as people, that we need to try and manage our environment better, and I think we need to focus on how we can do that within our disciplines. But in order to do that, you also need to broaden your perspective.
It's true. And that's why you want to go venture into ecology as well.
Exactly.
Yes, love that. Dieter, thank you so much for joining us. It's an absolute pleasure to talk to you, and looking forward to having you in studio again when the project, is going into phase 2 and phase 3, until the project is, of course, complete. Looking forward to that moment, and of course, you sharing that with us as well.
Absolutely. Thank you.
It's a pleasure. Dieter Brandt in the studio talking to us about this exciting project that he is, working on with the Polycare Namibia at the KAYEC facility, a Namibian non-profit vocational training center in Katutura. If you missed out on this interview, guess what? You can go onto the app and have a listen again. So do that. Download the app on your phone right now. It's available on the App Store and the Play Store.
MYD Earth was proudly brought to you by Polycare Namibia.